Oh, he believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13.
So for those out there who are wondering, aren't there something else you could be doing or it doesn't seem to impact you in your life? This is what it means to show empathy. This is what it means to be welcoming.
He changed the Minnesota state flag to make it look like the Somali flag. You haven't seen that?
But our current flag is problematic. I think we all know that. We've evolved into a more diverse state, and I think it's more reflective of that.
Joe Rogan stumbles onto something about Tim Walz so bizarre it makes UFO sightings look like weather reports. Walz suddenly becomes less politician and more walking plot twist, leaving Rogan with enough material to roast him harder than elk meat on a Texas grill. This isn't politics, it's reality TV accidentally filmed in Minnesota. What Joe uncovers is equal parts comedy, chaos, and conspiracy energy. And trust me, you'll want popcorn for this meltdown.
You think about Walz's descriptions of his military career, because there's some issues there that people have. I don't know if he flat out ever said that he served in Afghanistan, but he certainly didn't dissuade people from saying that he was when they were saying he didn't correct them.
Right.
There was things
he did, and he did.
If you're enjoying, please subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you think. Joe Rogan has seen some weird stuff in his life. UFOs, politicians pretending they know what elk meat tastes like, and guys trying to explain why kale smoothies can cure everything from the flu to failed marriages. But even Joe wasn't ready for Tim Walz, a politician who manages to make Minnesota look like the set of a low-budget sitcom. It turns out when Rogan
that Tim Walz cocksucker, if that guy got into power, like if Kamala died and Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, was our president, you know how crazy this country would be? That weirdo who puts tampons in the boys' room. And what about our Joy? Like, he's a complete pathological liar. Like a complete liar. Lied about being in Tiananmen Square. Lied about being a fucking head coach of a football.
Pulled back the curtain. What he found wasn't a mastermind at work. It was a guy juggling chaos like a clown at a state fair. Tim Walz has somehow perfected the art of looking busy while accomplishing almost nothing, which is basically the political version of running on a treadmill. Lots of sweat, no forward motion. Rogan couldn't help but notice that every time Walz tries to flex leadership, it feels less.
I don't know. Tim Walz is out there talking again.
Did you say he could fight any Trump supporter?
Yeah, he says he kicked their ass, and they're scared of him because he could fix a truck. Like they're threatened by his masculinity. I know how to fix a truck. That's what he said. I'm like, do you? I bet you don't.
The lady doth protest too much.
I bet you don't.
I fear.
I bet if I bring a broken truck to you and a bag of tools.
That was kind of the redress, right? That was the attempt. It was like, we're going to, the symbol of masculinity on the left is going to be Tim.
Less like commanding authority and more like a substitute teacher who's lost control of the classroom 5 minutes into the lesson. Minnesota wanted a leader. Instead, they got a dad trying to program the TV remote. This video shows Tim Walz doing the exact same thing over and over again. And the thing is,
there's video of Tim Walz doing the exact same thing.
Right.
Exact same thing. And he said, of course, it's a Nazi salute. He said that.
Right.
We spent 3 days debating, having them trying to debate that President Musk gave a Nazi salute. Of course he did. But that is a distraction.
This is how crazy things have gotten. Like,
it's called.
Walz isn't even subtle. The guy acts like he's cracked the code to governance, but Joe spotted that his big ideas are usually recycled from a 2003 motivational calendar. It's the kind of stuff that sounds inspiring if you're half asleep in a dentist's waiting room. Rogan exposed the comedy of it all, not in a cruel way, but in that "are we really doing this?" tone, the one he usually saves for people explaining flat earth theories. What's even funnier is how Walz walks around like the unsung
interviews and there's no pushback. There's no like, excuse me, I didn't go to Iraq. Right.
Exactly.
And I retired, as my unit was deploying. And so
we retired a couple months before. Right?
Yes.
What is the whole story?
But those guys know
it?
they know that they're going, right? It's not like they suddenly get a paper, on one day. There's a build up to that, and they're aware of it. And so, even his personnel were saying, look, we all knew we were going. He knew he was going. Now, okay, fine.
Hero of American politics when half the country couldn't pick him out of a police lineup. And yet, here he is making moves like he's auditioning for the role of president in a high school play. Joe couldn't ignore the absurdity, because when you peel back Walz's layers, there's no strategic genius, just a guy desperately trying to look like he belongs in the big leagues while holding a playbook written in crayon. Now, Joe's whole brand is about digging into things, exposing what's under the surface and sometimes finding out that the surface was the only thing holding the mess together. Walz became one of those cases. On the outside, sure, you get the smiling politician act, but once Rogan started connecting the dots, it was less trustworthy leader and more guy who shouldn't be left alone with sharp objects. Every story led to another ridiculous twist, like peeling an onion only to find out it's actually a cabbage someone spray-painted. One of Joe's favorite moments was pointing out how Walz somehow manages to talk about leadership like he's teaching a TED Talk, but the results are always closer to a kindergarten art project. Messy, confusing, and proudly displayed as if it's groundbreaking. Imagine someone giving a speech about innovation while using a flip phone. It's that level of irony. Walz loves to stand tall like he's rewriting history, but what Joe exposed...
He was 100% right with Tim Walz.
I know I'm doing something right when the Fox News crowd is all pitching at me like crazy. Like, I'm loving it.
That guy was almost the vice president of the United States.
Elon Musk was crying last week. Tim is being mean to me, basically, like, yeah.
I'm sure you've seen that thing where it shows Obama saying, I need a vice president that's dumber than me.
He may or may not have cognitive decline problems at his age, but at her age, she's just dumb.
Yeah,
Biden and
I think
Biden
I was
saying,
saying that
I
on
need
your
a vice president.
Exposed is that half the time the man's just rewriting grocery lists. What really cracked Joe up was the way Walz carries himself as if Minnesota is the epicenter of political revolution, when in reality it's more like the testing ground for dad jokes and awkward town hall meetings. Walz thinks he's running Rome. Joe sees him running a lemonade stand with questionable math. And the thing is, the people around Walz seem to buy into the illusion, or at least they pretend to, because who doesn't love watching someone accidentally trip into leadership positions like it's a game of political twister? And then there's the part Rogan couldn't ignore, Walz's uncanny ability to turn every opportunity into a sitcom gag. Give him a chance to look presidential and suddenly it feels like watching a blooper reel. Hand him a national issue and he'll return it like a badly wrapped gift, torn paper, no bow, and a missing instruction manual. Joe joked that at this point, Minnesota politics isn't so much a government as it is a reality show that didn't get renewed after season 1. What's wild is how Walz somehow stays afloat through all of this. Joe noticed that every time Walz takes a hit, he bounces back like a cartoon character. It's almost impressive, in the same way watching someone slip on ice without falling flat is impressive. You're not sure if it's skill or just dumb luck. Walz keeps dodging accountability like his Neo in the Matrix, except instead of bullets, it's bad decisions flying his way.
Have you seen this video?
I haven't. Please play it.
It's probably a real person. It might not be Tim Walz. Trump is AI generated.
No, he slaps his...
I mean, that is hilarious.
Oh, it's definitely him. This is all 100% real, Jamie. You're a plant by the
Jamie's
government.
compromised.
On top says it's AI generated.
Riley
so
Moore
what?
fell for an AI-generated video of Minnesota. I fell for it, too. And you know why I fell for it?
Yeah.
Because I believe that he's capable of doing something.
And this is where Rogan really started having fun. He pulled apart the idea that Walz is some sort of underestimated genius. Nope. According to Joe, the man's more like an overestimated substitute gym coach. Sure, he can give a pep talk about teamwork, but when it comes to actually running plays, you're better off asking a group of middle schoolers with a whiteboard. Walz keeps pretending he's playing chess, but Joe exposed that it's actually Canderland, and he's still losing. The deeper Rogan went, the stranger it got. For instance, Walz has this habit of over-explaining things, like if he talks long enough, people will mistake the noise for wisdom. But Joe wasn't fooled. He saw right through it. Walz's speeches are basically the audio version of those motivational cat posters. You know, the ones where a kitten hangs from a branch under the words hang in there. It sounds inspiring until you realize it's just a cat that got stuck. But the real kicker is how Walz somehow convinced people he's relatable. Rogan called it out. The guy's idea of being down-to-earth is dropping lines that sound like they were written by a marketing intern on their third cup of coffee. It's not authentic. It's improved comedy with a 2-drink minute.
More time. I mean, they were talking about cracking down on hate speech online. Like that free speech is not hate speech. That Tim Walz guy was actually saying that.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Hate speech.
Minimum. Walz struts around trying to be the everyman, but Joe exposes that the man's closer to an AI bot programmed to say folks every 3 sentences. And just when you think Walz has reached peak awkwardness, he finds a way to level up. Joe pointed out that Walz doesn't just stumble, he stumbles with enthusiasm, as if he planned it. He'll proudly announce a big initiative only for it to fall apart faster than a dollar store lawn chair. The guy treats political blunders like collectible trophies, stacking them up as if history will one day admire his collection of missteps. Spoiler alert, they won't. The exposure wasn't just about Walz's political decisions, though. Joe went into the whole vibe of the man. Picture this, Walz walks into a room and suddenly the energy shifts. Not because people respect him, but because they're bracing themselves for whatever unintentional comedy show he's about to perform. Joe compared it to watching someone try karaoke for the first time, confident, loud, but completely off-key. You don't want to laugh, but you can't help yourself, and here's where the irony really hits. Walz actually believes he's pulling it off. That's the magic trick. While everyone else sees a blooper reel, Walz sees a highlight tape. Joe exposes that the guy's greatest skill might be his ability to live in an alternate reality where every mistake is a victory. It's delusion as a superpower, and somehow it works.
Have you seen that?
No.
For the video of him taking down the Minnesota flag and he replaced it with the new flag that looks a lot like the Somali flag. Minnesota has a huge population of Somalis in it.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
So he gets the flag, picks it up, and replaces it.
There, that's better.
Why is that better?
At least long enough for him to keep a straight face on camera. But Joe didn't stop there. He dove into Walz's tendency to ride trends like a surfer who never learned how to balance. Joe laughed at how Walz thinks saying the words is the same as actually doing the work. If politics were karaoke, Walz would be the guy mumbling through lyrics he doesn't know, hoping the crowd doesn't notice. The funniest part is how Walz reacts to criticism. Rogan exposed that the man treats every negative headline like it's a personal attack from the universe. Instead of learning, Walz doubles down with the confidence of someone who just misread a map but insists the car is going the right way. Joe said it best, watching Walz handle adversity is like watching a guy trying to fix a broken sink with duct tape. It's not effective, but you've got to admire the effort, and let's not forget the timing of all this. Joe exposing Walz comes at a moment when people are desperate for authenticity. And here's Walz delivering the exact opposite, manufactured charm with a side of awkwardness. Joe's breakdown showed how Walz isn't just out of touch, he's practically orbiting another planet. It's not malicious, it's hilarious. The man thinks he's the star of a political drama when in reality
American history.
It's Kamala, and Kamala saying, I need a vice president dumber than me. It's Walz. Men have tampons.
We have a lot of accomplishments. We haven't taken adequate credit for it, frankly. We got to do a better job of getting the word out about what we have accomplished and who did it.
You got to lose because we got to break this cycle. We're getting way too...
Here's the comic relief. By the end, Rogan painted a picture of Walz that was impossible to unsee. A politician who stumbled into the spotlight by accident, convinced himself he was born for it, and has been improvising ever since. And that's why people couldn't stop laughing. Rogan didn't just drag Walz, he revealed the unintentional comedy act that is his political career. From the exaggerated speeches to the awkward timing, from the dad joke policies to the delusional confidence, Walz became less of a leader and more of a character study in political bloopers. Minnesota wanted a governor. What they got was a sitcom. And thanks to Joe Rogan, the rest of us finally got front row seats to the show. And the best part, the more people replayed Joe's breakdown, the more they realized this wasn't just a one-off fluke, it was a pattern. Walz isn't unlucky. He's consistent. Every decision, every speech, every attempt at looking like a statesman somehow turns into a blooper reel. It's almost admirable, like he's dedicated his entire career to proving that gravity applies extra hard to Minnesota politicians. You'd think at some point he'd learn, but nope. He just doubles down like a man.
A complete pathological liar.
Let's be honest. There are outsiders coming into communities, stealing and moving jobs away, and making life harder for people living there. And they have names, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance.
Complete liar. Lied about being in Tiananmen Square, lied about being a head coach of a football team.
Because this started, and I love this story, as a young prosecutor. Kamala Harris talked about going in that courtroom for the first time.
Pathological liars. People that are habitual liars. They just lie all the time about everything. Yeah. Oh, you didn't deploy for war. You didn't. Why are you saying you deployed at war? The weapons you used in war? No. You were in war.
I plan on waking up on November.
And proudly walking into the same glass door twice. It's like a magician who only knows one trick, and even that trick doesn't always work. Minnesota keeps clapping politely, but you can tell they're wondering if maybe, just maybe, they deserve a headliner instead of the warm-up act. And that's the real punchline. Walz still thinks he's killing it. He struts around like a man delivering Oscar-worthy monologues, completely unaware that everyone else is watching a blooper reel. Joe Rogan didn't need to dig up scandals or secret files. He just had to hold up the mirror. And what reflected back wasn't corruption or villainy, it was something far funnier. Tim Walz, the unintentional comedian of politics, starring in a never-ending sitcom nobody asked for, but everybody can't stop watching.